Yo, what's up? This is Splendid Radio on PharcydeTV. My co-host Jeremy Scipio is doing his thing tonight, but I have the pleasure of having Mr. Caleb Ashton, very funny cat. You know what I'm saying? Tapping in. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Appreciate the compliment. I've been told I'm corny, but I appreciate that.
Nah, you good, man. You good. You're all good. So, basically we talk about comedy, we talk about hip hop, we try to sprinkle in a couple current events and whatnot in the mix. But where were you the first time you heard hip hop, and what was the song to your recollection?
From my recollection, the first song that I really felt something to was probably Mo City Dawn by Zero. I was at Almeida skating rink, and that song, whenever you play it in Houston, everybody just go crazy. So everybody just knows that song front to back. I'm still learning it myself, but I feel like Houstonian, that's like a camaraderie song. Like everybody can connect on that song.
You gotta spin the record back real quick. Educate me. So the artist is who?
The artist is Zero.
Okay.
And the song is called Mo City Dawn. Mo City Dawn, and it's no hook. It's just him straight rapping, like just going in slow, loud, and banging all in my trunk full of funk. I ain't never been a funk. I blow on skunk, I blow on Doja, military about it. I'm a mother soldier. You know, I can't sing it too much because we on YouTube and they might copyright me. But yeah, I actually did a skit about that, like how Houstonians act when that come on, and it's like people in different situations pulling a mic out of random places and just started rapping. But yeah,
you know what? I totally get it. So the first time I went to the Bay, I went to Berkeley, and to me, have you been to Berkeley?
I've not been to Berkeley.
Okay, so it's very interesting about the Bay. So Berkeley is this place where you have like hippies.
Mm-hmm.
But then you also have gangsters. Okay. And there's this crazy cross-pollination of the hippies and the gangsters. And my partners are from Oakland, and they do this festival called it leaves, but it's the Souls of Mischief. They have a Hyro Day. That's what it is.
Okay.
And the interesting thing about it is, when someone throws on a Bay Area song, you'll have everybody from the hippie white chick in Birkenstocks to the young, slick street dude, and they all just,
right.
It's like there's something that interconnects just the culture like that. So I take it that the song you're talking about probably has the same effect. It's like it's just some Houston stuff.
It definitely does. It's crazy how that one song just impacts everybody in the building when you play it in Houston.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. So where are you from?
I'm from Houston, South Park area to be exact. I moved around Houston, but I was born and raised South Park, Houston, Texas.
Okay. And then how'd you end up in LA?
I ended up in LA. I came out here fall of 2018. And it was a funny story how I got here. I got here because I'm very indecisive. So I knew that, hold on one second. Mm-hmm. Excuse the horn. I'll stay by Busy Street, but I'm very indecisive. So the way that I got here was I purchased a ticket to a concert because I was like, if I go purchase this ticket to this concert, I'm going to have to go to LA. I came back out of the decision. So I ended up it was a Danny Kane concert. That's like one of my favorite pop groups. So I ended up buying tickets there, and I just needed a change of pace. I had been doing theater. I went to high school for theater, went to college for theater, and I just needed a change of pace. So I just took a leap of faith and came out here, and been here ever since 2018.
So that's cool that you mentioned the pop, because we're definitely gonna talk about the different genres of music you listen to, and man.
Yeah.
Hold on to your hat. We're gonna talk about some comedy and we're gonna get there, but I want to be acquainted with the person. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Before we get to that part.
No.
How do you think hip hop influences the world?
I think hip hop is one of those genres. It's a lot of expression as far as how people are feeling at the time, especially artists such as NWA, you know, a lot of artists from back in the day, Ice Cube, Snoop Dogg, even UGK, Bun B, like they were just speaking how they feel. I think it's a lot of other genres. It's a little bit more fluff and it's a little bit more PC on what you can say, where genre is really just straightforward and raw. That's why people gravitate to it so much. It's almost similar to rock in a way. That's why you have a lot of I feel as though white people who gravitate to the genre of hip hop, or a lot of cultures to be exact, they gravitate to hip hop because they're saying, a lot of the artists are saying how we feel. So I think.
Oh no, I'm sorry. You go
hopefully
ahead.
they answer your question, but yeah, no, that's.
Nah, you got it. Man, my take on it is kind of like, it's like gentrification, man. It's the gift and the curse. It's like, if the corporations wouldn't have stepped in and pumped all the money into it, it wouldn't be to the level of being so relevant with everything. But at the same time, by the corporations coming in and pumping the money in, the money into it, it just kind of went in a different direction. And it's interesting because
I can see that.
Before Netflix and whatnot, I was kind of like a documentary buff. Like, I like to watch a lot of documentaries about music and stuff like that. And I just feel, I've worked with music forever, and I feel like I can just always learn from different stories. I like hearing people's stories and just giving me perspective. And I find myself, what would be the right word? Conflicted with the use of music to sell products. But because, I look back at like the Beatles. Okay. They never got behind any products. You know what I'm saying? Jimi Hendrix, he never got behind any products like that. You have, like all these old artists, and it was kind of like, to them, it was kind of like selling out. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But, you have where we are today, and an artist could get like 30, 40, 50, 60, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 for, I believe it was Pusha T. I forget the jingle that he wrote, but I want to say it was the McDonald's jingle within the last 15 years. Like, one of those, he did like one of those songs. And I think it was like, the way that he did the deal, he wasn't really thinking what he could have made off of it. So he did okay, but he didn't make what he could have. But then he had the opportunity to come and do another jingle or something like that for a product. And then he was able to capitalize, on the money and whatnot. But I just always get conflicted when I see the art behind corporate interests, man.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, it is a conflict because some people are like, yo, I mean, I gotta feed my family. I gotta, take what I can get. I got this advance that I gotta pay back, so I kind of have to say yes to almost everything. But I do see what you're saying, where it's a little bit more commercialized nowadays. And it is, I mean, I feel like that's just the age that we are in now, especially with a lot of artists trying to go independent. They kind of really have to market themselves in every way they can, even if that means a big corporation, supporting them or funding them to do a jingle for them. But I totally get what you're saying. And so, then not only that, they like, once they're attached to that corporation, they have to, it's a certain like image they do have to represent. So or they'll lose their deal. So
yeah, and to put it into perspective, one of my buddies, he's a music artist too, and he you know, he always has this saying that he says to me, because I speak from a place of very, like, my personality is like very absolute, like whatever it's on, it's just like very absolute. And he'll kind of balance that out, and he'll say, man, these little kids are running around with a whole bunch of money, man. Imagine us when we were 19 and 20, if we were able to make that kind of money. How could you judge somebody on how they act, man? You
Right.
like, you don't know how you'd act.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If, you know, if you had, you know, what those cats had, because of course, you know, with some age behind you,
Right.
you can look at something and you can say, you know what, if I made $200,000, I put $100,000 down on the house and da 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 and da 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 da. But man, that's as somebody that's, you know, been around the world a couple times. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's case by case. Yeah.
Man, you've never made more than $20,000 in a year, and you get something where you get 200,000, and your mind is thinking like, man, it's gonna keep coming like this. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We're about to have a grand time. So other than hip hop, what's your favorite genre of music?
My favorite genre of music, it switches. So I guess I would say R&B. I like all genres, but R&B, of course, would be the next after hip hop.
Good for you.
Right now.
Good for you. Good for you. And your homegirl Anissa said, "What's up?"
Oh, that's my mom. Hey, mom.
Oh, okay. All right, moms. Hey, she's checking us out. We keeping it PG-13, and
Yeah,
you know, and respectful.
We are.
Nah, that's tight. Other than rapping, what other element of hip hop do you like?
Well, element. I think even outside of the lyricism, outside of the studio, a lot of rap. I've always admired Kanye West. I mean, he. I know he's on everybody's like list right now, but in my eyes, he can do no wrong. I went to the Touch the Sky tour. I remember my mom took me. It was at a Reliant Arena when the stadium was Reliant. It's NRG now. But my mama took me to that tour. She bought me almost every Kanye West album. But I just loved his bluntness, and he was never PC. Even outside of his music. He was very just set on what he wanted to say and do. So I think that's element of hip hop that I like. It's just that, like you said, that absoluteness. You're just determined to do and say and stand 10 toes on whatever you do. And he's just very creative. I think he's way ahead of his time.
Well, not to disappoint you, but I will say this, man. He's consistent. As inconsistent as he seems, he's consistent. I met Kanye. My buddy works with him, and I ended up going to the studio to pick my buddy up, and we were going to go to this show. And when I picked my buddy up, Kanye was there, and my buddy told him something about me, and it's something that I kind of had something to do with my buddy that I was picking up from the studio. Mm-hmm. And Kanye called me a liar, man.
Wow.
But this was like, I want to say this is probably like 2005, 2000. Yeah, it was like 2005. And so when he said that, because he said I was lying to my boy, like gassing my boy up, like basically my homeboy was on this record. Mm-hmm. And so my boy produced the song, but he did a remix. But when he sent the song back to us produced, he had a verse on it. And so we were like, well, oh man, he produced the song, he did a verse, so we'll put somebody else, but somebody else was on it before, because I guess he sent it to, it was a thing of the track going back and forth. Mm-hmm. So what we did was we pressed wax and we put the remix on a B side, and then we put the original version on the A side. So my boy was excited, and he was like, oh yay, you know, I'm on, you know, I did this beat and and I rapped, you know, trying to, you know, like, oh man, yay, you know, because they're real close. to this day. And so Ye just went off, and he was like, "You're a liar. If you would have used his verse, it would have been on the album." And I'm like, "Nah, we didn't do it that way, you know." So I got mad, and then I stopped and this is so funny because this is the 2005 Kanye. This is the billionaire. Okay. He started going off talking about, that's what Fat Joe used to do to me. That's what he said, Fat Joe, he said Master P. It was either Master P or Baby, one of the two, but he was like, they would have me in the studio and they'd act like they were recording me, but they wouldn't record me because basically he was saying that since his homeboy's verse wasn't on the album, that we just didn't use it at all. And I'm like, nah, dude, I got the wax in my car. I got the wax in my car. So I stopped myself, and then I was like, man, why are you arguing with this? You don't even know him. And it wasn't like, not to say that I deal with a lot of people, but I've been around established people. So that doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, put it this way, hip hop people, I don't really lose it. And I've never really lost it being in the presence of that. It would take like some new wave or somebody that's just like a super old school legend or something like that, where I might kind of get like oh man, you know what I'm saying? Woo-woo. But I wasn't tripping off of Kanye. And it's interesting because after the fact, when he started, you know, when he was able to be who he wanted to be, you know what I'm saying? He didn't have to be, because I'll say like around 2005, he was kind of like, he was politically correct to a certain extent. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have the, what do you call it?
Media training?
No. I want to say it's not courage, but he just, in 2005, he cared about what he said to a certain extent. So even though he might go off or might have went off or something like that, he wasn't the person. He didn't have that I'm a genius and you're a mere mortal type of thing going on with him. He didn't have that going on with him, so just whatever. But that's interesting. But yeah, he has been consistent. But the funny thing about it is, when he said that, you know, slavery was a choice on TMZ, the format of the podcast was different. We used to have a DJ that would spin records, and then we had I had a co-host that wasn't a comedian. He was just like a hip hop guy. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And I really felt something about Kanye saying that slavery was a choice, man. Because my family's from Mississippi, and then, you know, my father's told me stories about relatives that had to pay poll taxes, but they couldn't even vote, but they had to pay, you know, they had to pay poll taxes. So when he was talking about slavery, oh man, it just set me off in the worst way. I was like, we cannot play no Kanye West music on here. I'm not.
I know this, but I mean, that's crazy. You know, some people, that's like one of those situations where it's hard to separate the art from the artist.
Well, real quick, I'm gonna let you finish, but I did reach a point where I was kind of like, well, man, but this was years after. This, I'll say within the last 2 years, I reached this point where I'm like, you know what? That would be like, you know, I don't like American cheese. I hate American cheese. Like, I will not eat anything that has the McDonald's cheese, the pat, whatever. Like, I don't eat processed cheese. And I said to myself one day, I was driving and I was like, man, that would be like somebody saying, man, you're a weirdo. You don't eat American cheese. You know what I'm saying? Like, a person's personal thing is their personal thing. And then, or their views and whatnot. And then their art is their art, man. If we knew the truth behind 2% of people that we look at in a way that create art, but we don't know anything about their personal stuff, we probably think they're, you know, they're weird, crazy, strange, you know, just whatever. So I have evolved to the point of where, like, man, I don't, you know, man, people do what they do, man.
So I'm pretty sure if we found out everything about our artists behind closed doors, we wouldn't have no artists to really listen to if we did that.
Not even artists. The guy that works at the auto repair spot, the whatever, man.
Right. We would be in the house, not wanting to socialize with nobody. But yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, that's some stuff he has done is a little bit inexcusable, but yeah.
You know what? I've evolved, and man, I promise you, man, the last 2 years and COVID and all that has helped me with a great deal of evolution. But I evolved to the point of where, like, man, I just look at it like everybody's. I'll give you an example. So a podcaster that I listen to a little bit here and there, and don't judge me. Yeah, we getting into that. I'm sure I don't have enough listeners for it to make it, or watch viewers to make a difference, but Charleston White will say some very intelligent stuff, but then he'll say something that's equally as way out. You know what I'm saying? But I think I think that's kind of his process. You know what I'm saying? To kind of like shock you. But he'll say something that's he'll say something that's so on point, but then he'll say something that's just way out. But something else that I've kind of learned, and I'll say I've learned this within the last 5 years. You're not supposed to judge the messenger sometimes, man. It's not about do as I do. Sometimes people can have the message. They just don't. They can't apply it to their life.
Yeah, exactly. They don't apply it.
But that doesn't mean that they don't have the knowledge. They just don't have the capability of.
They just don't want to do it sometimes. They got the capability. They just don't want to do it sometimes. But I get what you're saying. I totally hear what you're saying.
Yeah. Nah, man, your mom's is on point, man. You know what I'm saying? She was talking about the art. She said, the genius of R. Kelly. And it's just like, man,
R. Kelly.
You can't, and dude, R. Kelly, weirdo, for sure. The molestation and all that, I'd have to just really be privy to just the legal part of that, which I haven't dug into it, and I think a lot of people haven't dug into it. But weirdo, absolutely. But dude, you really got to look at it. He wrote songs for Michael Jackson, man. Like on the artistic level. I'm not speaking on the person.
No. Yeah. He wrote songs. He wrote a couple. He wrote for a lot of artists.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and his.
Celine Dion, Think I Can Fly, man. One of the biggest songs ever.
Yep. You can't play that at graduation no more. You can't play Step in the Name of Love at weddings no more. You can't listen to Ignition the same.
They not doing it at the graduations, but they stepping, man. They give it, we, especially if it's Black people, man, we the most forgiving. You know what I'm saying? We the most forgiving, enduring. We might not like something, but we gone, man, we'll eat a slice of phony bologna here and there, man, for the sake of.
And we'll straight up be like, I don't care if he got hits, man. I'm gonna play him. I don't care. Like we will straight up. I've heard people say that out of their mouths, and you can't really be mad at it. I mean, Chris Brown as well. I mean, same situation. It's a lot of
where man. Chris Brown is genius. He is. There is something to, and I battled that for a while because I was like, okay, you have Chris Brown, you have Usher, and I have to say, like, man, with both of those cats, people don't give either of them the credit they deserve. Like, dude, these guys, not only can they sing, but these dudes are doing acrobatic flips and all kind, like really, like neither of them do it now, but we'll just say. 10 years ago, they because I want to say Usher's injured himself, doing some of that stuff or whatever, but those dudes are definitely, very talented.
He's still out there. So they're both they're both still out there, and they're very underrated. It's just, man, we feel like we can do anything. Nobody gonna tell us nothing, and sometimes that does affect our artistry, but. Yeah.
So your favorite hip hop movie?
My favorite hip hop movie?
It doesn't have to be old school. It could be Stomp the Yard. It could be with it, but some movie with the hip hop kind of storyline to it.
Hip hop storyline. I guess it'd be ATL. ATL was, it had T.I.,
Nunu.
T.I., Lauren London, Big Boy. Who else was in there? It was a lot of ATL rappers. I remember, well, one of the things that like stood out to me about that movie was that Chris Robinson, who's like a music video director, he directed it. And I always loved his music videos. And I feel like it captured the city. And even though there was a story in the movie, it did capture a lot of it. It captured a lot of the elements of the city. But I really think that was a good hip hop movie. ATL, that's a classic movie. Everybody's always like, when we get into ATL 2 or whatever. But ATL, I think about ATL.
All right. So, all right, now we got a little bit of some cool little music conversation. You know what I'm saying? Some hip hop. I like your point of view. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, when did you realize you had an affinity for comedy?
I never knew that I had an affinity for comedy. Actually, I still don't consider myself funny. I just say off the cuff stuff. I guess going to school I went to school at Waller. It was an all boys prep school. And we were always ranking on each other, talking about each other. It wasn't fun, but we was always, talking about each other. Sometimes it would get serious. So you kind of always had to be on your toes and just making fun of each other. So I thinking back, I guess that's where that came from. But just watching movies, watching Bernie Mac show, Steve Harvey show when I would get out of school. What else would I watch? Just comedy in general when I was growing up. The Kings of Comedy, that when they had that movie, that was a big thing. King and Queens of Comedy. Just comedy in general. It was just the physicality of it. Wayans brothers, seeing them, always incorporating each other and always producing stuff. I just really like that. Watching Jamie Foxx show. Just I was just blessed to grow up in an era where I had Black sitcoms and comedians to watch on my TV. So yeah, I would say school and just watching TV a lot, watching a lot of comedy.
You know what I'll say is the difference between then and now. Okay, so now you do have anomalies, like people that are just total, like just talented glitches of the universe, like Country Wayne. He's one of my favorite online comedians. And I don't believe he's had any training, you know what I'm saying? But one of the things that made the Jamie Foxx show and In Living Color and all that stuff so special, they had a lot of thespians, you know what I'm saying? People that had studied theater and whatnot. And so when you get the comedy with the acting, and they're able to read, you know what I'm saying? They're able to read, and with the comedic timing and all that, that's what made that stuff so timeless. Is what I call it, like timeless. It was like, I remember my buddies did In Living Color back in the day, and we were in the green room, and Jim Carrey was walking down the hall, and they would shoot it live, and so his scene that he was about to do might have been in like 15 minutes, right? I remember Jim Carrey, and it was the first time that I'd ever been around any type of production or anything like that. So I was, my mind was kind of blown just by being in that space. You had Tommy Davidson running around and it was In Living Color, and none of them were like mega stars. So it was just a bunch of very talented people, and it was just like a hot show. But I remember like 15 minutes before Jim Carrey's scene, he was in character walking down the hall, and I can't remember the character, but he was there, you know what I'm saying? And I just remember, and I didn't really respect it as much as I do now. I just was like, oh man, he was crazy before he got on camera, and then he'd get crazier when he got on camera. But looking back on it now, like that's why he was so good. Like he didn't it was like he prepared himself. And then you know, I had the pleasure of working with Keith David and doing some stuff with him years ago. And I remember we were on the phone and he was in New York, and he had to go over some stuff that I was doing for him. And he was like, I was like, well, I texted him first and I was like, are you up? And he was like, yeah, yeah, I'm going over my lines. And then I was like, oh man, he said, no, man, call me. So I called him. And when I called him, we handled the business, and I was like, man, you know, you're an established, you know, actor. You going over your lines? And he's like, man, you know, people wait for brothers to mess up. And he's like, dude, I'll never be that man. He's like, man, I'm going to go over those lines. And then when I get on camera, I'm going to do what they asked me to come there to do. And I'm going to be professional, And I just remember that being like a moment in my life. Like, man, I've worked with artists, but I've never been in any type of a show business or anything like that. Like I DJ'd a club years ago, you know what I'm saying? So like that was the closest I got to that. But I remember having a great level of respect for him because I was like, dang, even though he's this stellar actor from Platoon, just like, you know, all the Disney voiceovers and like all this stuff he does, he still was dedicated to the craft, man. And he was like, he didn't take any of that for granted. You know what I'm saying? Right. And that was pretty amazing to me.
That's dope. Yeah, I love Keith David. And Greenleaf, he's amazing in Greenleaf.
Yeah, no, he's one of those actors that can bring it, that can bring it. He doesn't have much competition. Like he's in his own lane.
That's true.
I'll say my favorite actor though, Delroy Lindo. He's my favorite.
Lindo.
Yeah. He was shoot, man. He was in Malcolm X. He was the dude that ended up on heroin that kind of tried to punk Malcolm X back in the day, and then Denzel went to go and see him. And
is he light-skinned redhead guy?
No, he's dark. He's dark. He was in that movie In the Jungle with Chadwick Boseman that he in Vietnam, and that Chadwick Boseman was in.
I think I know who you're.
Nah, he's a dark dude. I'll tell you what he did. He went on Fox News and he was talking to some of their very conservative correspondents, and he said something about, he said nigga or something like that, or he said something, and then he said, you know what, I know you want to say it, come on, I'll say it with you.
Oh, he was the daddy in Crooklyn.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, underrated, man. He's
very underrated.
Oh man, dude, he really brings something special to the screen when he comes to the screen.
Okay, sure. I typed it in and saw his face. I was like, that's the daddy in Crooklyn.
Yeah. So, which job gave you the best life experience?
I think best life experience, probably Papado. I used to work at this restaurant.
Ooh, that red fish, man. I'd have them fry it. Sticking off both ends of the plate, man.
Yeah, your order would not come out for like half an hour. 30 a red fish fried.
Oh, I can live with that, man.
It's crazy. But no, I worked at Papado. That definitely taught me, one, how to better manage my money, because it was fast money, but when you don't work there anymore and you get like a normal job where you get paid bi-weekly, you're like, dang, I kind of did take that job for granted. And just, it really did teach you about life, because some days you might make good tips, some days you might make bad tips. It was just, and it also taught me to be more responsible and just take pride in my job. Because I don't know, I always worked from a perspective of the guests. So if not making them wait for stuff, you can't please everybody, but I always kind of went out of my way to make sure my guests weren't always asking me for stuff that I could have already been got them.
So quick question. So when you get tips, or at the time, so is it that like all the servers and everybody split the tips, or you got to keep the tips that you got?
Not the servers don't split it. There is like a tip pool, but it's for the bussers and the barbacks, and I think the dishwashers and somebody else. But the tip pool is because those people, because sometimes, because say for instance, the server had to do all that by themselves, they would get behind so fast. So that's why they do a tip out at the end of the night. So you can, some of your tips can go towards that. It's like, it's not a big percentage though.
Okay.
But you don't split the tip. Only time you'll split a tip with another waiter is if if it's two waiters working on one big party. That's the only time you'll split it with a waiter, with another.
Okay. No, I always wondered that, man. I appreciate you giving me your perspective. So, your motivation behind comedy.
My motivation behind comedy. So I always thought that at first I was just doing it for myself. I truly was. And I kind of still am doing it for myself because I just want to have some control over my art, my craft. But when I started, getting comments from people in Brazil saying, man, I love this. I'm glad you put this out. I'll be watching this almost every other day. That's when I started to realize that it was, what I was doing was a little bit more than me. So that was more so my motivation behind comedy. Was my supporters, also just not taking my gift for granted, because I have a lot of ideas, but if I'm not executing it, it's like it's a slap in God's face, because it's like he's giving me a lot of stuff to work with, but if I'm just sitting on it, it's not fair, and somebody else could be using it as well, and it's kind of selfish of me not to take action when it comes to those. But yeah, that's where my motivation comes from, and just knowing that just seeing my growth as well, because when I first started, I wasn't getting that many views as I mean, I'm still like not getting a lot, but I had a big what's it called? What is the word? I had a big rise. That's not the word I'm looking for, but a big rise in like 2021 last year. That's when I gained my most supporters. And I was like, okay, well, there is something to this. So I don't want to give up and not see what it'll turn out to in the long run. So that's what I want to do. I also want to leave my legacy for my kids, for my nephew, my little brother, because he said he wanted to get into filming. So just to leave a legacy behind too.
Well, that's dope. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but now I see you part of a cool little production crew. So your brother, if he come out, is he out here or he's in Texas?
He's in Texas right now. He's
all right. So when he's able to come out here, you could kind of give him that little edge. You know what I'm saying?
I'll put him to work. Hey, you hold this camera right here. I need you to do the lighting right after that. Make sure the camera. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I'm gonna definitely show him the ropes.
Nice. So with all that being said, your senior year of high school, you're about to graduate.
Yeah.
What did you think your path was going to be?
I didn't think I was going to graduate. My principal didn't think I was going to graduate. They were like, I'm surprised you did it, because I wasn't focused. To be honest with you, I wasn't focused. But I pulled it together and graduated. I didn't know what I was going to do. I got accepted into a college. I had gotten a scholarship. I was blessed to get this scholarship for what it was. But I was just looking forward to starting over and getting really focused. And I was, when I went to college, I went to Ball State University for acting. So that summer I was trying to work and focus on just my first semester in this new city, in this new school. So that's what I was focused on more so, because I didn't have a plan. So I was like, okay, well, college, I guess. But yeah, that's what happened my senior year. My senior year was fun though.
Hey man, it's so funny. I think back. Yeah, I didn't think I was going to graduate either, man. I had no interest. It was like I've always like, man. I started breeding stuff when I was like 13 years old, and I realized you could get money from animals having sex, and that, like, dude, that turned me out, man. It was amazing. Like, I was like, man, you can really get money from animals doing what they do. You know, so I started with hamsters, boosted up to rabbits, went to dogs. I dealt with my last litter of dogs about a year ago from December, and shoot, man, I just kind of, so my focus was like always on bread, you know what I'm saying? Just like from like 12, 13, I just, that was just my thing. So, but it was interesting because my high school counselor, she was like, you're not going to even do well in trade school. She says, you don't waste your time. She's like, whatever. But you know what? Honestly, it offended me at the time. But then I look back and I'm like, she might have just seen that I just was not interested in that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I just, so that was, what that was. So, smoke screen might be a smoke screen. How do you feel about Trump's quote unquote arrest? He didn't get arrested, man. I'm asking you a question and I'm answering the question. He didn't get arrested, man. Arrested is walk of shame, handcuffs, head down, his wig tilted to the side, knocked off to the side.
I mean, I didn't see how him getting arrested was going to affect us because he's not in the office no more. So I was like, everybody was celebrating. It's like, I don't know. Apparently he's supposed to be trying to run again, but if he didn't get arrested, there's really nothing to life is going to go on. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even think that is, man. He's Teflon Don, man. He's
not gonna. Even if he was to get arrested, he's not gonna stay arrested. He's gonna find a way out. He always finds a way out.
Man, he incited insurrection, and people said, "So what?" You know what I'm saying? And the amazing thing about it, his vice, and I don't know what he had on the dude, but his vice president, they was talking when the insurrection was jumping off, they was talking about going there to get his vice president. And his vice president, after the fact, he was even tail between the legs, like, praising the guy. So I think that did absolutely nothing but turn our attention to they used, I don't know if gluttony is the right word, but they used people's lust for seeing him like Trump in a derogatory sense in order to shift everybody's attention over to something. But I was like, oh man, they're not gonna, if he's done so much, you know what I'm saying? He's done so much that if they haven't got him on something by now, they're
not gonna get
semantics, semantics. So and I apologize for asking you a question and answering it, but
oh no.
I couldn't even hold back, man. I thought I could hold back. My co-host helps balance me out.
I know when Donald Trump is a triggering subject, so I'm not.
Oh man, yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, that's a fact. So on to the next one: Marvel or DC?
Oh, Marvel because it's action right from the jump. It's action. DC is too much backstory. If I wanted to know the backstory, I'll go get the comic book. Well, some backstory you do need to know, but Marvel is action and backstory, but it's like there's a good flow to it. It doesn't bore you like DC. I love DC.
You help bring some clarity to something, man. So I've been told that I'll go in the opposite direction a lot of times. I like DC, man. You know what I'm saying? Man, DC is dope. But then my co-host, he's kind of like, man, too much story, man. He's like, man, too much. Exactly what you're saying. Like too much storyline, not enough action. And you saying, and then I'm like, man, my favorite team after the Lakers was the Celtics. And then after the Celtics, I had a love affair with the Clippers. I feel like the Clippers, and us having this conversation, I'm like, man, maybe I do like the underdog, man.
Okay, you call it underdog, but I don't need to know that your favorite candy was licorice when you were younger, and we talking about that for 45 minutes in the backstory. Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you where they let me down. they let me down with Superman versus Batman. That was the one that let me down. I'm just like, man, they supposed to be scrapping, man. They going into this and that, and I'm just like, oh man. But okay, that's dope. Your most iconic moment.
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, my most iconic moment. What was my most iconic moment? Oh my goodness, that's a good question. I can't think. I'm pretty sure if I look back, I'll have some iconic moments.
All right.
Oh my God, what was my most iconic moment? I guess when I was, I had this video. It's a viral video now. They wouldn't let me film on the lot, but I filmed anyway. And they were like trying to call the police. I filmed anyway. But that video ended up going viral. So
no,
I guess that would be my most iconic moment. But I'm pretty sure I've had a lot.
No, that's something so going through your social media and whatnot, I've seen a lot about this principle. Break this principle down.
Principal Washington. Principal Washington. So I actually did a pilot, but Principal Washington is a principal. He wasn't intending to be a principal. His friend hooked him up with a job to be a teacher at Crenshaw Low High School. But they were so understaffed that when he got hired, they were like, you're the teacher, but you're also the principal. He's like, well, I ain't signed up for this. Like, well, you don't get your bonus if you don't do it. So that's how he became the principal. He's really like, he has the certifications, but he's really like, he's smart, but he's street smart. And he's very just a straight up and down principal. Because he's been through a lot, he's seen a lot. So it's really like nothing you can get by with him. So he's really just straight up. And that's just his quote unquote teacher method, if you will. And that was just based off of the Steve Harvey show, Bernie Mac. Like I said, those are just characters that I grew up with. But people tend to gravitate when he's like more lax. Like there's a clip where he's like, oh, teaching summer school. He's like, I'm not teaching y'all this. Y'all should have learned this stuff during the school year. So I'm gonna what y'all don't know. Oh, y'all don't know how to play dominoes and roll a blunt. Okay, y'all can do that while I go to the dispensary real quick or something. Like that's one of the more like popular ones. Or because it first started when it was called Cool Principals Be Like. Because I had been seeing a lot of I've been sorry, I just got a message. People watching this messaging me. Sorry. I saw a lot of content creators doing teacher sketches. And I was like, they all seem mad. I wonder if there's a cool principal. So I did the cool principal, and that went viral. Like it was like cool principal when he catch y'all skipping school. He's like, where y'all going? Okay, bring me back this. Da, 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 da. Like this really chill principal. And that just went crazy. So I just kept doing that, and yeah, we're here today. So
all right. So a semi-current event. Chris Rock, Marlon Wayans. Did Marlon Wayans go too far, man?
I don't even know what happened.
Oh wow.
I don't even know.
I'm not gonna even spoil it for you, man. I just say if you want to be entertained by some trivial trees of the world, do your YouTube research.
It seemed like Chris Rock is the problem though, because
I don't know. So Chris Rock. Okay, so I'll give you the short. Chris Rock gets the Netflix deal, does the stand-up for Netflix. Did you see it?
I saw clips of it. I saw him, of course. Everybody's playing the Jada and Will clip.
Funny, man. He's funny, but there was a point in it where he just like he went over the speed limit, man. I don't think, I can't remember if he called her an explicit or if he said other people are called, but he just kept going over and on and on and on. So anyway, Marlon Wayans did a stand-up special where he basically talked about, his whole special was about that.
Oh.
But it was funny though. It like, man, it was funny. So basically what Chris Rock tried to, how Chris Rock capitalized off of Will Smith with his special, Marlon Wayans capitalized off of Chris Rock's special. And, you know, Marlon Wayans, and I've never said it until now, but he's one of my favorite contemporary comedian actors. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
comedic actor.
Yeah.
I saw that movie that he did where he played, it was like 6 of them. I think it was like 6 of them. And the interesting part was he was as entertaining. It wasn't better than the Clumps, but it was as entertaining, man. He really put a lot into the characters, into the makeup and the whole little stuff. Like he played a woman, he played a little sick person, he played like all these different characters, and he pulled it off. And so, you know, since he's been doing press for his recent comedy special, he kind of goes into his family history and his brothers and what his brothers were doing and who he looked up to and all this, that, and the other. And, you know, I look at the Wayans family, man, and we don't give the Wayans family enough credit, man.
No, we don't.
They really, you know, put it this way. I want to say, I saw something where they were saying In Living Color had something to do with the entertainment being involved in the Super Bowl type of thing. Like, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know that definitely as far as comedy is concerned, there was a lot of talent that came off of the In Living Color. A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. Jennifer Lopez was just a choreographer back then. You know what I'm saying?
There was
Jamie Foxx. And the interesting thing about Jamie Foxx, you know, he's just as talented on the musical spectrum as he is the acting or the comedy.
Right. Like you said, he has a good range. He does dramatic and comedic really well.
Trying In-N-Out Burger in Dallas, Texas for the first time.
Yeah,
I've never been to In-N-Out, by the way. So.
Oh man. Yeah.
No, but Jamie Foxx, I think he has a really good range. But yeah, a lot of the art, I think that's one of the things I can say. Yes, of course, SNL too, but a lot of main heavyweight actors that we respect now came out of In Living Color. So Tommy Davidson, of course, Keenan Ivory Wayans, a lot of the Wayans. Who else? You said Jim Carrey. Who else was in? What was her name? She was on the Raven Baxter's mom, dark skinned lady. She was on the Cosby's. Dang. But they
Felicia Rashad.
Not Felicia Rashad. Dang, I'll lose it. But she was a really good actor. I didn't know she was that funny in Living Color. But yeah, that was a great show. It did a lot for the culture. I don't know how it would be if they tried to revamp it though.
Wouldn't be the same.
I don't think they need some stuff you don't need to revamp or touch. Just leave it in that era. But yeah.
Your ultimate goal.
My ultimate goal is to definitely, it's not in my control, but be a household name by 2029. Because I started doing content in 2019, so my goal is just to be a household name, and have my own production company by 2029. Studio. I have my own production company, but I want a studio by 2029. All right. Oh, and to finish my series, I have a pilot. I started my pilot. I just want to finish my series. like produce it. But yeah.
Nah, that's dope. So your dream verses, dead or alive?
Oh, my dream verses. It would be like we said, Usher and Chris Brown. I think Usher and Chris Brown would be a good verse, or would be a dope verses. If they give like but it would be live performing. They not sitting in no chairs with a Ciroc bottle. They gotta be up, vocals on, choreo on, back and forth. Y'all ain't got no, yeah. That's how I want the verses to go.
Nah, that's a good. Nah, that's definitely a good one. So now we're gonna go to the monkey hustle. It could be you, it could be someone who you know. What's the dopest hustle you ever saw ran on somebody?
Oh, the dopest hustle I did was when I sold lemonade. When I was young, I was selling lemonade. And people was buying it. It was Kool-Aid lemonade. It wasn't no like freshly squeezed. It was just Kool-Aid lemonade. Got it from Fiesta for the cheap, for the Lolo. And we would sell it for like, what, 50 cents? We was making money. But it was hot. So I was like, man, look, we going inside. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. But we were consistent with it. We did it for like a week or two during the summer. But we were trying to make money to go on this trip. We were trying to go to Six Flags New Orleans. And me and my cousin, we was selling lemonade. And we was hustling people because we was making more than we were putting in to make the lemonade. So that was the hustle.
All right, I can go for a slice of that. What's the best advice anybody's ever given you?
The best advice anybody has ever given me is to not take any advice. That's the best.
All right, man. If it works, so hey, man, if it works, you can't argue it if it works. If you had a biopic, what would it be called?
Oh, the biopic would be called, it would be called Action. Like Action. It'd be called Action.
Who would play you?
Oh, who would play me? What's the dude in? Luke Sabbath. Luke Sabbath, he's in Grownish. He has locks. He'll play me.
All right. Any advice that your past self would give your present self?
Caleb, you remember your name, okay? Remember your name. You have too much faith to have it wavered. Remember your name. Anytime you feel like you don't know what to do, listen to your intuition, but all else, go look at your name in the Bible, because your name is basically telling you what you are sent here to do. You weren't named this by mistake. You a badass dude, okay? You got this. Trust your instincts. You got this, all right? You're a leader. That's what I would tell myself.
All right. How do you see social progression moving in the next 2 years?
Oh, in the next 2 years, I think from what I'm seeing, they're trying to take control of our social media, like banning TikTok, banning apps from Asian countries that were made in Asian countries. What I will say I've noticed in LA is, even though it's a big city, I do notice a sense of community. People will stand up for people, even though it has nothing to do with them. People are very supportive from what I've seen. And I've heard really bad stories about people in LA, but this is just what I've seen. But I think it'll be positive. I think it'll actually strengthen the social reform if they do take our social media away. I think it'll strengthen us, but social media is also keeping us connected as well. So I think it's a positive thing in the future. I don't see anything negative happening in the future.
Okay. So
but they do need to do something about gun control. I will say that gun control, something got to be done because this is crazy. This is getting out of hand.
You know what? They can do small stuff that would make, you know, huge waves in the process. Like I'll just say, like I'm you know, I'm all down for civil liberties and all that, but at the same time, people need to speak up on when you see people being, you know, you see a weirdo or you see somebody who's not mentally stable and all that kind of stuff. We need to have those discussions. When a person goes to purchase a weapon, man, we need to run a check to see how stable they are, man. You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
psychoanalysis test, with you need to have that with your gun permit.
Yeah, I could definitely take a slice of that. So give us your socials. Where can people find you?
You can find me YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. _ Caleb Ashton _ CALEBASHTON. YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Caleb Ashton as well. Two words, Caleb Ashton. As it's shown here. But yeah, that's my social.
Nah, all good. Well, dude, I really appreciate you for tapping in, man. It has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. This was fun. I appreciate this.
This is easy, man. We just getting started. This has been Splendid Radio.